Hello, and thanks for watching. Welcome to part 2 of Road to Omega. This is a short series of videos covering the WipEout series leading up to the release of WipEout Omega Collection on the PlayStation 4. In this video we're going to be looking at the original game, WipEout, on the PlayStation. It is available on the Sega Saturn and also the PC, but we're going to focus on the PlayStation games as they're the best versions out there. So the original came out in 1995. And this is the original release here. Really cool artwork. Coming from Super Nintendo and Mega Drive games, the PlayStation artwork always looked a bit more grown up, a bit more targeted at a different audience. And WipEout was probably the best of the launch games, as it was a launch game here in the UK. So that's the original release. And here's another version. It's the same game, exactly the same, except for the case is one of the dual cases. There's a few games out there that come like this. And then the Platinum release, which was released a year or two after the original. Same artwork. I mentioned in the previous video there are a few differences between the regular and the Platinum version. So in the gameplay video I'll show you that. And we're also going to have a quick look at how the neGcon works. I'll have it in frame while playing so you can have a look at that. So yeah, let's cut to some gameplay. Right, so here we go. WipEout, the original. Psygnosis, I've never known how to say that properly. The Designers Republic. So these guys are responsible for a lot of the graphic design, as it says right there, the graphic design in this game and also in 2097. I think they're only involved in the first two, but you can Google the Designers Republic and you'll find quite a lot of cool images that they've done over the years. Very abstract WipEout sort of art, so that's cool. And I first got WipEout the Christmas of the release of the console. My parents got me the console and WipEout. I had no idea what it was, so when I first loaded it up and saw this, it was pretty mind-blowing, coming from playing Sonic on the Mega Drive and Street Fighter on the Super Nintendo at my friend's house. This was something else. Full video, very cool. And the CD soundtrack as well, brilliant. WipEout, there you go. So yeah, if you're not familiar with the series, it followed on from F-Zero back in the day, and is a futuristic racing game. You're racing to win, there's weapons. It's like a futuristic grown-up Mario Kart, I guess. But in this game, in the original, you can't destroy your opponents. The weapons are primarily used to disable them, just so you can race past and win the race. One player, it's primarily one player. The two-player thing, it requires two PlayStations, two link cables, two copies of the game, two TVs. Sorry, one link cable, but two of everything else. I've never done it, I don't know anyone who has. It's a lot of effort just to play two-player. Eventually the series gets split screen, but and the options there obviously if you have all that stuff, but I've never played it. I've only ever played the one player. So Venom is the easier speed class, Rapier is the faster speed class. You beat the championship in Venom, you unlock Rapier. Simple as that. Championship, single race, time trial. So we're going to go, we'll go into championship and see how far we get. And I'll talk about the game a little bit. 4 teams, 2 pilots for each team, so you've got 4 different skins. Sorry, not 4, 8, what am I talking about? And there we go. So these are the original teams. These appear in most of the later games in the series. There's a couple where some of them are missing. I think in WipEout Fusion some of these teams are missing, but Oricom and Kyrex are very difficult to use and to win in this game. So, which is a good example of actually how the ships are different. They all handle very differently. AG Systems is a very good all-rounder. FISAR is brilliant for beginners. And we're going to go with AG Systems. And I like the green and yellow, so. But actually, just looking at this, I can show you the pilot logos because they're quite cool. There's a lot of cool design work in this game. That's probably my favourite. That's pretty cool. So there we go. Let's go back to AG Systems and we'll go with that one. And we're starting at Ultima, which has appeared in a few games, remade in WipEout 3 Special Edition, WipEout Pure, and it's also the last track in WipEout 2048, which is set before this game, so it's the last track in that game and the first track in this game. So here we go, you have your inside view, which I know a lot of people enjoy, and I play with it sometimes, but I do like the exterior view. I like to see the ship. So here we go, you race along. If you don't know the series, you hit the blue pads to go faster, the blue speed chevrons, and the coloured pads give you weapons. Very similar to Mario Kart. I think most people are familiar with that series. I've got a shield right now. But yeah, this is one of the most difficult games of the series. If you can get good at this game, you can be pretty good at any Wipeout, I'd say. Basically, avoid the sides at all costs, race to win, use your weapons smart. And we're in championship mode, so at the bottom of the screen there's 3 stars, and that's basically your lives, how many times you get to try a track. And I believe there are 6 tracks as standard, and then once you've unlocked Rapier and you beat Rapier speed class, you get the Firestar track, which is a secret track on Mars. Quite cool. There are cheats for the game because it is very difficult, so if you want to see some of these extra things, you can use the cheats. And I did numerous times. I've never beat Rapier. I beat Venom speed class, but I've never beat Rapier. Some of the later tracks are very difficult. I love these games, I'm not great at them. I'll be the first to admit that. So I've got a speed boost weapon right now. But yeah, so again, I keep talking about it, but coming from the previous generation to this on the PlayStation was such a big jump. Full 3D racing game like this. Really visually amazing, and even if someone did enjoy this specific game type, just seeing this game in action made them believe the PlayStation was the next level, and really definitely helped it take off in the UK, this being a launch game. And yeah, I was saying before about a difference in versions, so you can see the text is red and white on this version, and in the Platinum version it's yellow and white, which is similar design to how it appears in WipEout 2097. So what I'll do is I'll just cut in a bit of video right now showing the same bit of this track but with the Platinum version. So yeah, you can see the difference there. It's yellow and white text instead of the red and white in the standard version. And if I pause as well, you can see it runs throughout the menus as well, yellow and white in the menus instead of the red and white. And that's the design they went with for WipEout 2097. And also, if you get the digital download of WipEout, it's the same, it's the yellow and white. So yeah. And yeah, so you can see the difference there. It's a bit random, but I think they had issues with some of the ads around the side of the tracks as well, so you'll notice they're different as well between the versions. I don't know them specifically which ones they are, so I can't show you, unfortunately. And yeah, I'll also insert a bit of footage of the neGcon controller, and you can have a look how that works. So let's cut to that now as well. So here's the neGcon controller, and you can see how it twists in the center. You can go into the menu and change the layout of the buttons and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm just going to basically show you just for a minute how, just for the visual really, of how it works. So yeah, here we go, you can see how I twist it and the ship turns. And it's just cool, like the flow of the ship moving with your movement. It's quite difficult, I'm not very good with it, but it can be a quite unique way of playing. Like I say, the flow, feeling the flow of the ship with your controller is very cool. And yeah, that's basically how that works. That's what it looks like. So yeah, that's how the controller works. I just wanted to show you that quickly. Another cool thing in this game, which isn't in any of the other games, is that if you're playing in Venom, the tracks appear a certain way, and if you play in Rapier speed class, the tracks will be at a different time of day. Yep, so that's that, and here we are on the next track. I've just cut to this, so you can see this track. I'll probably do some quick cuts and you can just have a look at some of the other tracks. Another thing to mention probably is the way this handles is very unique. So you steer, and then you also use air brakes to do sharp turns like this. And it gives the way the ships move a very unique floaty feel. Like they genuinely feel like they're bouncing and flying along. And I've said before, but once you get used to this game in particular, you can play the other ones quite easily, as I think this is probably the most difficult. Okay, here we are on the next track. Another thing to mention briefly is the soundtrack for these games is always really good. This one has Orbital, Left Field, The Chemical Brothers, and Psygnosis, their in-house artist, Cold Storage, or Tim Wright. I'll link to him in the description. He's got some good songs. You can listen to them online. And he's got tracks in this game, WipEout 2097 and WipEout Pure. It's kind of a staple of the WipEout series, really. I was kind of hoping to see him make a comeback with the WipEout Omega Collection, but he's not on there, unfortunately. They did just announce that soundtrack. It's 28 tracks. It's a mixed bag. I listened to it and it did grow on me, but I was hoping for a few classics in there. But yeah, this game, great soundtrack, and the whole series in general has just got really good soundtrack. Okay, so I've switched ships and I've switched to Time Trial to show you this next track. And I mentioned before, the game is difficult, but it's very much worth sticking with once you get used to it, because the controls are very sensitive, and once you get used to the way the ships move, once you pick a ship and stick with it, they're so different. There's probably one in there for you. It's worth it in the end. So yeah. I remember when I first got the game, I was struggling with it quite a lot to begin with. I've played nothing like it before. I think the only racing games I've played really were Micro Machines on the Mega Drive, and maybe Lotus Turbo Challenge. Nothing like this. Very unique. So here's the next track. Again, I've switched ships and we're in time trial mode. Just to quickly check it out. I'm just quickly going through these now just to show you, to get a brief idea of what the track's like. They're all very different, the locations. It's quite cool. It's very visually nice to look at. Again, for a PlayStation 1 launch game, really impressive how different it looks. It does have some pop-up, which stands out quite a lot on this track, but it doesn't really deter from it. It doesn't affect you too much. You can see the track quite far into the distance. And this is obviously a desert themed track. And you've probably noticed on the previous tracks, but they've all got their own custom advertising of the teams and various adverts around. It's kind of a running thing through the series, having lots of ads and promo stuff and billboards and unique logos for the teams. It's like it's a really well built universe. So here we are, we're in a race now on the last of the standard tracks, and it's an ice themed level. Of course, you've had your desert, you've had your city, you've had your green level, so we've got the icy snowy level. quite a difficult track to end on. Very difficult track to end on. I don't remember it very well either, so I'm going to be awful at this. But yeah, this is the last standard track, and then there is a secret track, like I mentioned, Firestar. It's set on Mars, and I'm going to just use the cheats to unlock that quickly and then show you it. I'm playing as a ship I really don't like playing as right now, but I wanted to show you a different ship, so please forgive my awful flying. This track has lots of different routes, and they all affect the outcome of your time and your position in a race quite a lot. So it is a very difficult game to master with the choice of routes as well as just basic gameplay. Like, pick a route that you know you can get used to and stick with it, learn it, and you'll do alright. I am not doing alright though, and we're just going to cut to the next track now, I think. So here we go, this is Firestar, the secret track set on Mars, which should become evident quite soon. There we go. Quite a good track. Again, not very familiar with it, so please forgive my abilities. But yeah, so that's really been a quick look at WipEout 1, and I'm going to do this sort of thing for all of the main games in the series, leading up to WipEout Omega Collection. So stick with me and we'll have a brief look at all of them.